Next.
What we're going to be talking about this hour. Let me take you to some breaking news that we just saw right before coming here and beginning this broadcast right now, taking you to California. This is right outside of the San Francisco Bay Area, where crews are battling a large building fire. They say that it started from some type of explosion in this area here. A 3-alarm fire at this point in time. Fire officials say there are possible injuries. I mean, just as they zoom in, you can see there is not much left of whatever building was sitting there at that time. So this was a mixed housing and business area right off of the highway where this happened. A lot of smoke that's been pouring from this building. As you can see, a ton of damage in that area. Again, this is Hayward, California, where crews have been battling this large building fire there that started just a short while ago. It looks like they have the bulk of the actual fire out at this point in time. Typically, when you start to see that lighter color of the smoke, that indicates that they've gotten most of the flames out. But my, oh my, the destruction in that area. And again, we do know that there are possible injuries, but don't know the extent, how many people may be affected by this, especially with it being both a residential and commercial area where this is happening. You can see most of that smoke looks to be coming out from the commercial portion of this building. The remnants from the explosion look to be all over the place, on cars, on homes. You see the firefighters there doing a yeoman's work there to try to get all of this, the fire out and to take care of the people in that area as well. Nearby the roof, you can see them all on the ground as well. I mean, they have a lot of firefighters in that area. So an active scene that we have been watching there. But coming back here, let's go ahead and talk about what we have coming up in this first hour. If I get any updates on what was taking place there in Hayward, California, again, with that explosion, I will let you know. But the Bears and the Browns face off this weekend, Sunday, to be exact. Caleb Williams and TJ Edwards versus Shedeur Sanders and Myles Garrett. It's going to be good. It is going to be a good matchup. And while we may be coming, of course, off of a loss to the Packers that knocked us off of the top of the leaderboard for the NFC, this game still matters in terms of our playoff pick. It's still incredibly important. So we still have a chance to get in there. Cassie Carlson is going to be joining me from Hallis Hall, and I'll be talking with her coming up shortly here in this 1 o'clock hour. Also, Tunnel to Towers Foundation is delivering a mortgage-free home to the family of fallen Illinois State Trooper Clay Carnes. He was tragically taken from us almost 1 year ago exactly. I believe it was the 23rd of December last year when he was taken on the side of a road there. What a beautiful way to honor his service and his sacrifice this holiday season and to really help out his young family. I believe that he and his wife had 2 young children that he leaves behind. Also, the nation's leading fatherhood initiative, the Dovetail Project, which is based right here in Chicago. We've talked to them before here on the show. They are celebrating their 30th graduating class of young fathers. It is an effort to transform lives, to transform families, and of course communities as a result of all of that. So can't wait to take you there live as well. There are a lot of heartwarming things that are happening, and I've been saying it really helps to be able to see that, to be able to see the heart of the city when we have some difficult discussions to have as well. But you know, while we're on the case of things that give you good, warm feel goods, we want to check back in with the Lurie Children's Radiothon this afternoon. We have been watching what's been going on there all day as the numbers have been stacking up here with donations coming in, and really lives that will be changed from the donations that are made, lives that will be saved from the donations that are made today. Those phones have been ringing off the hook since early this morning. Now, first thing this morning, we had Jake Hamilton there. We had Gabriella Primus there. Our own Casey Cronus is there right now. Casey, can you hear me?
Hey, Anita, can you hear us?
I can hear you. We are good to go.
Hey, we're troubleshooting with some audio here, but we are at the Lurie's Radiothon. It has been an amazing morning here, and joining me now. Oh, Anita? Hey, Anita, we might have to come back to you here in a few minutes.
Okay, all right. We'll do
Okay.
that. That's fine. Yeah, we'll come back to you in just a second here. Do a little troubleshooting, and
Okay.
we'll come back around to you. No problem there. It's live. That's what happens, you know. You never know what is going to happen, but there's plenty to come. Let's see here. So while we're waiting on Casey Cronus, and I can still kind of hear her in my ear, so I know that they're working on her mic there. Let's talk about some of the other things that we're working on right now. Again, we're watching several live events that are taking place here this afternoon. One of them is this ongoing trial of a man in the Boston area, the Brian Walsh trial. If you have been with us for the last few weeks here, we've kind of dipped into that, but we also a few weeks ago talked with a former prosecutor who has now started up her own podcast. And so in the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to bring her in. The name of her podcast is called The Prosecutors. We're going to kind of break down what's going on with that trial. So many people across the country have been watching that. A man, a husband that is on trial for the murder of his wife. His wife, Anna, was last seen on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. I believe it was in 2023. And the events that have taken place since then have kind of been all over the place. And today, he has still not taken responsibility for her death, although he has pleaded guilty to misleading police. There's a lot there. So the last time that we dipped into that trial, the prosecutors were putting forth some evidence that they have found hydrogen peroxide and things of that nature that he purchased at stores in the days after his wife was reported missing, things of that nature. So we'll be checking in, of course, again with the former prosecutor who has now started up a podcast to break down that. We know we have a lot of true crime lovers here on this show. We're also going to talk more about this weather outside. We'll be bringing up one of our meteorologists to talk a little bit about the changes that we're expecting to see. Winter has come in with a full throttle effort here. I kind of remark on a regular basis how we get a wonderful summer, and there's nothing like summertime, Shy. We love it every year, and we wish we could hang on to it throughout the year, but then we get like this mini fall that comes in, and then boom, we get hit with winter. And this is already, we've already had snow totals that are at the point of the entire year last year thus far in this season as we give you this live look outside here. So we're still waiting on one of our meteorologists to come out and explain what we are anticipating over the next few days. Some snow, but really the temperatures are the story. While we wait on those things, we're also monitoring the first hearing for the suspect in the Charlie Kirk murder as a trial gets underway. Let's go ahead and listen into this.
After I've heard argument, we will invite all parties or the public and the media to come back in, and the hearing will resume transmission. We will then take up the motion for limited intervention, followed by the state's motion to amend or clarify the publicity order. These portions, the last two portions, will be open to the public and to the press. After hearing argument on all three matters, I will take a brief recess and then return to issue my ruling today. We will then stand in recess. So at this point, we'll go ahead and excuse the public and the media, and it is the court's order that transmission be terminated temporarily.
Your Honor, we have one request with respect to the closed hearing. May I be heard on that?
Yes, counsel.
Thank you. Richard Novak for Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson has some immediate family members who are present, his father, his mother, and his brother, and we would ask the court to permit them to remain in the courtroom during the closed portion of the hearing.
To the state.
My only concern with that, Your Honor, is that we're going to be talking about court security measures, and I don't know that we'll have to go into a lot of detail about that, but I do have concerns about those issues being discussed in public.
All right. Mr. Novak, do you have authority that supports allowing them to remain in a closed hearing?
No, I think it's subject to the court's discretion to decide who is and is not an appropriate member of the public. I think they have a unique relationship with Mr. Robinson, and they would certainly abide by any orders the court makes concerning disclosure of what is discussed in closed session. But obviously, it's up to the court.
Thank you, Mr. Novak. I'm going to rule that they will be excluded as well. It is just given the nature and the sensitivity of it, I believe it is appropriate to treat all parties in the public equally, though I do recognize their relationship with Mr. Robinson. Thank you for your request. All right, we will go into the closed session. Thank you.
All right, so they're going into closed session. Obviously, there are a lot of very sensitive details to this particular case. But just as we kind of unpack what we have here thus far in there, they were asking for that closed session to make sure that things are protected, not getting out before they need to. This, again, is the pre-trial hearing for Tyler Robinson, who is accused of that very public assassination of Charlie Kirk that took place in September. This is his first in-person appearance in front of the judge since being arrested for allegedly killing Kirk at that point in time. He's 22 years old, Tyler Robinson, accused of murder. Won't have to wear jail clothes. We heard that in an earlier session here, but will be restrained when he appears in court. This hearing, though, is supposed to be focusing on a media coalition's request to be a part of arguments when the prosecution and defense seek to keep evidence under seal. Utah prosecutors say that they're going to be seeking the death penalty, of course, in this particular case, if Tyler Robinson, again, 22 years old, is convicted. If you think back to that time period at that university in Utah, I believe it was Southern Utah University. Charlie Kirk went there for one of his rallies. There were people who were all over the yard, some people who were on top of the buildings as well, and they could see across, and they had, obviously this is an event at a university, so there are many young people. Everyone had phones out, so they could see across. There was a man, believed to be a man, who got up a stairwell, got on top of a building, and shot down at Charlie Kirk, killing him, taking aim at his neck and killing him in front of all of those people. And then he got off of the building, jumped off of the building, went through some neighborhood that was right there, into the woods, dropped the gun, and it took some time for the FBI to finally track him down, with plenty of leads that took place in that time. And even in kind of thinking back to that, there were questions. The first person that the FBI even thought may have taken Charlie Kirk's life didn't end up being the actual person who ended up being the suspect. This Tyler Robinson, it ended up being a family friend who was called to their home, who was a former law enforcement officer, if I believe correct, a former law enforcement officer who was a friend of the family, who was the one that kind of talked him into, like, hey, you need to give yourself up to police and face this. So again, he's still an accused assassin at this point in time, has not been convicted. This was a pre-trial hearing at this point in time. We are going to bring in at about 2:15 this afternoon, we'll bring in a federal criminal trial attorney to talk a little bit more about the charges that he's facing, whether the death penalty will in fact continue to be on the table. Most of the time when we see a trial of this nature, the defense would likely fight to keep the death penalty off of the table at the very least. That may be the only win that they have but it would be a win on their side if they were able to at least get the death penalty off of the table. But right now they are in a closed session so that they can talk about some of the information that may be a little bit more sensitive for the public at large to listen to. We do have Casey Cronus now. Again, I said we're kind of going from some stories that are a little bit harder, a little bit more difficult, a little bit more nuanced, like that Charlie Kirk shooting that took place back in September, to some of the things that really we all need to hear about. We all need to kind of absorb the good things that are happening in our community, like what's happening at Lurie Children's today, the radiothon that's been going on all day. Casey, I know that you're there. You can hear me now. We're all set to go, and you have some friends who are there with you as well. So take it away.
Hey, Anita, that's right. We got our audio sorted out and we are ready to roll. We are at the Lurie Children's Radiothon hosted by iHeartMedia, and this is a really special event each year, and all of the donations go right back to the patients here at Lurie Children's. Joining me now is Nurse Kara Strubing. She's been here for a couple of years. Tell me a little bit about what you do day to day here at the hospital.
Hi there, nice to meet you. I work on the 20th floor, which is an acute care floor. We take care of post-surgery transplant patients. So the day-to-day is taking care of like any acute needs that they need if they're sick, and also taking care of their emotional needs as well, and making sure that they can have as much of a normal routine in the hospital. So it's great to see that the Radiothon is happening today. The energy is wonderful, and all of the proceeds go back to the hospital. So activities and different programs that are run here are funded, and kids get the opportunity to go like play in the playroom and, you know, have just some normalcy in their day-to-day.
And we just heard the bell ring. When you hear that bell ring, that means that a donation has come in. So we want to hear more of that. In just a bit, I'll give you information on how to call in. I do want to give a shout out to a Fox 32 viewer, Alan Perez, who made a donation around 12:15. Thank you so much, Alan. We will shout you out if you call in and make a donation here at the Radiothon. We want to hear more bells ringing. Now, a big fun part of this event is hearing stories. And you have a story that goes back many years here at Lurie Children's. Talk about the connection with your mom.
My mom has been a nurse here her whole career, so it's been, you know, one of the main reasons why I wanted to work at Lurie Children's, and also why I wanted to be a nurse. She's a huge role model for me, so to see how much joy and like excitement she gets from her job is one of the huge reasons why I wanted to work here.
And you said you have memories as a little girl riding with her back and forth?
Yes, going to outpatient appointments, hanging out in the back and meeting her nurse coworkers. So it's been a, you know, family from day one.
And now Kara here is the next generation, and we got another donation. We want to hear more of that. Now, last year, the Radiothon raised about $1 million. So we want to hit that, if not surpass that. The total amount raised today won't be announced until the end of the day. This runs until 7 p.m., but you can still make donations through the weekend. So if you do want to donate, here is some information to take down. You can call 1-888-831-7733. Call, make a donation, or you can text Lurie, L-U-R-I-E, to 34984. I'll read that, Anita, one more time. To call, it is 1-888-831-7733, or text Lurie, that's L-U-R-I-E, to 34984. Anita?
Casey, days like this, when you're working in that environment, you know, it's kind of it's such mixed feelings. I know they're tough days in terms of a lot of work, a lot of live shots, but just talk a little bit about how it's a labor of love, essentially, because you get to do something so good along with so many great people by your side.
And this is so rewarding, Anita. The energy here, as Kara mentioned, it's just so brilliant. It's energetic. It's so much fun seeing all of these people come together for this greater cause and this greater mission. And again, you at home can take part as well by calling, texting, donating. And again, every dollar counts.
Thank you, Casey. We appreciate it, and we're going to be checking back in before we get off the broadcast here with Chicago Live, before we leave you at 4 p.m. But then also, Casey's going to be with us in the 4 o'clock, the 5 o'clock, and later on this evening, too. So she's got a long day ahead of her.
Thank you, Anita.
Absolutely. Thank you, too. We'll see lots of smiles, both from our reporters who are there, but then also the people who, the volunteers, and certainly the Lori families who are there. So many of them that have stayed extensive periods of time with their entire family, you know, because even if you have just one child that is in the hospital, but you have maybe multiple children, everybody ends up having to go to the hospital on a regular basis. I believe we heard from one family earlier this morning. Their child spent 289 days of the first year of life at Lurie. So the work that they do can't be understated. Again, they not only save lives, they change a lot of lives as well, and helping whole families. And so it's been wonderful also to check in with some of the families who have been through those journeys and then come back to help other families, because for sure the money that is raised is going to help with research dollars. It's going to help them to build more buildings to help more families as well. And just to go back into that number one more time, so that for this hour, because again, like I said, we'll go back to it, but for this hour, the information that you need to know so that you can be a part of this, because we can all play a role in this, however much or little you have to give, it would be appreciated. 1-888-831-7733, or text Lurie, Lurie, to 34984. They could use every dollar that you could give. It's 1:21 right now. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. 1:26, everyone, and we want to take you live to a very special ceremony, a celebration of fatherhood that is taking place right now. It's the 30th annual Dovetail Project graduation ceremony. Let's listen into a bit of this.
The streets taught me how to survive, be alert, be strong, and quick on my feet. But what I didn't realize was that surviving isn't the same as living. Those lessons might have helped me make it this far in life, but they also kept me from growing into the man I knew I could be. I'll never forget something Mr. Owens said during orientation, just a week before classes started. He showed us a to-do list, then looked at us and said, "What's even more important than your to-do list? Hold on. What's even more important than your to-do list is your what not to-do list." That hit me deep, because sometimes growth doesn't come from adding new things, it comes from letting go of the old ones. From letting go of bad habits, people that hold you back, and excuses that no longer serve us, I remember being back in high school, walking around the city and seeing Dovetail posters that said, "Free program for young fathers ages 17 through 24, continued with education, trade, and appointment readiness opportunities." I used to think programs like this are exactly what our community needs. Who would have thought that 7 years later, not only would I be a part of this program, but standing here today as a graduate, a husband, a father, and a man on a mission. Now that I've completed the program, I can say this from my heart. Dovetail isn't just a program, it's a brotherhood. It's a place where men learn to lead, to heal, and to believe in themselves again. It's a space where we don't just talk about change, we become the change. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mr. O, not just for what you do, but for who you are. You've shown us that breaking generational curses start with one person who's willing to put in that work. While you've been doing this for over 13 years, you really got it out the mud, and now you're reaching back to pull others too. Your words carry weight because you live what you teach, and that's powerful. To my brothers in this cohort, I'm proud of us. We showed up, we pushed through, and we transformed. We struggled, we laughed, and we grew. Now, we rise. This isn't the end, though. This is just the foundation. Let's keep applying what we've learned, not only for ourselves, but for our children, our partners, and our communities. To my wife, Kristen, you're an incredible woman, mother, and partner. Thank you for standing beside me through all the rough patches we've endured and had to overcome. To my daughter, my little sunshine, thank you for being my reason, my reminder, and my daily dose of joy. You keep me grounded and inspired every single day. Because being a father isn't about perfection. It's about presence, patience, and purpose. We all came here to become better fathers, and along the way, we became better men. Thank you.
Y'all charged him up. He didn't read like that in practice. Great job, great job. But we keep it going. They're all amazing. Listen, I want to introduce you to Mr. Aaron Billingsley.
What a beautiful moment again there for the Dovetail Project, their 30th graduation ceremony happening at the South Shore Cultural Center, where we're kind of listening into some of the speeches that these men are giving in coming through a transformation process, really. You heard the young man saying, better fathers, better men, and I would say, just add to that, that creates better communities. He said that fatherhood is not about perfection, it's about presence, patience, and purpose. Such an awesome initiative that the Dovetail Project has created. Again, it is Chicago-based, and this is a 12-week program that these young men go through that teaches them so many great things so that they can be better for their families, better for the community, better for the world here. And the graduation, of course, is just the crown on top for these kings that are coming through the program. They are between the ages of 17 and 24 years old, and I believe there's about 800 people, if I'm correct, that have gone through this program since it has been around. They initially, kind of gather people together for this. Sheldon Smith, that is the founder and the director. We've had him here on the show to listen to speakers, to put them through different roles and tell them about the rights, the responsibilities, all of those things of fatherhood. It is just a one-of-a-kind program that Sheldon has started here in this area, and it includes a component here addressing felony street law to help young men avoid incarceration and stay present with their children. Again, this is creating generational shifts, so it's really an outstanding thing that they are doing, and it's a wonderful moment to be able to see these graduates of the program today, and I am absolutely wishing them the best for them and their families as they move forward in their lives after this program. Let's take a quick break, and we already have another very heartwarming story lined up for you right after this. .135 right now. I promised you another heartwarming story, but it does start with a tragedy that took place on December 23rd of last year, 2024. Trooper Clay Carnes was tragically struck by a passing vehicle while removing debris on the side of the highway. I mean, it's a classic case of when we say that every day that a law enforcement officer puts on their uniform, they don't know what that day holds and what could be the challenge that keeps them from getting home at the end of the day. He passed away from his injuries at the age of 35, so young, and he leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Well, they have been surrounded by love and of support, even though their loss, no one or nothing could ever take the place of Trooper Carnes. But some really great people have really stepped in to do good work in his absence. And Tunnel to Towers Foundation is one of those groups that is now delivering in a big way. In fact, a mortgage-free home that they are giving to the family of fallen Illinois State Trooper Clay Carnes. John Huvane is a detective, a retired detective with NYPD, and he's with the first responder engagement at Tunnel to Towers. Thank you so much for taking out your time, one, to do this wonderful work honoring his service, but also to talk about it right now. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. Us meaning our foundation on your show this afternoon, and I appreciate the kind words, and especially something as tragic as this, losing a Illinois State trooper who had just joined the force 10 years ago. He was 25 when he joined. He built a home and a family in that time, Megan and the 2 children, and he was doing something that you and I encounter every day if you drive on the highways. You're driving along and you see some debris and you swerve out of the way at the last minute to avoid it. Well, Clay got out of his car, went to remove that type of debris, and he was struck, and eventually he lost his life to those injuries. Now, it's almost a year. It's 12 days away from his 1-year anniversary, not being with his family, and his family going into the holiday season will have to celebrate their second holidays without the love of their father or husband, and it's so difficult for them. And Megan has been a delight, during this very tough period of time, and she's appreciative, because what we try to do at Tunnel to Towers, if somebody is killed in the line of duty and they're leaving behind young children, it's our obligation at the foundation to make sure we provide them with a mortgage-free home, so the children don't have to move their school district, the children don't have to find new doctors, and in this instant, it just meant so much that this financial burden was taken off them. And as Megan said, this is the home where Clay and her wanted to raise these children. And we take off that financial burden from her. It's the largest bill everybody has, whether it's rent or mortgage each month. And she can continue to spend more time with the children and raise them as a single parent, and with the help of the community. And the people of Illinois are big supporters of Tunnel to Towers, and we're able to do this. And we're doing this at Season of Hope. And what we're doing since December 1st till Christmas Eve, we're paying off 50 mortgages.
Wow.
And mortgage-free homes. So think about what the average mortgage is and the type of money it takes. But this year alone, we're going to pay over 200 mortgages.
Oh my!
For our fallen first responders, our Gold Star, and this year we've built 60 smart homes for our catastrophically injured military personnel and our first responders, to give them back their independence. And we have a lot of support throughout the country, which we're very appreciative of.
It's a call, a knock at the door, no one ever wants to receive, the one that Megan got last year, and to have such young children that you have to still care for, be present for, and try to still expose them to their father's legacy. I just can't imagine what she has gone through over the last year, but it is indeed a blessing that you all have been able to help her out in this way. I know that Tunnel to Towers was born from 9/11. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. On 9/11, 2001, Stephen Siller was going to meet his brothers and play golf. He was a firefighter in New York City. He had just finished his midnight tour, and he had a scanner in his pickup truck, and he heard that a plane hit the tower, and he drove back to his firehouse, got his bunker gear, and threw it in his truck, and he drove to what is at the time was the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel that connects the Brooklyn to the lower part of Manhattan. Well, that was closed for security reasons, and he decided he was going to put on the bunker gear and run through the towers, into the towers, and was never seen again. His body was never recovered, and it was a tragic loss. And Stephen was not only a sibling, he was almost like their child with the siblings, because the Siller family lost their mom and dad at a very young age, and the siblings raised Stephen. And he had 5 beautiful children himself and his wife, Sally. And I have the pleasure of having Stephen Siller work for me, his son, who was 9 months old when he lost his dad. So he grew up without a father, and he talks to a lot of the children and the moms or dads, whatever it is, and says, I was raised without, my dad, but things turned out really good. And it's about taking care of the children. So the Siller family sat around the table, and they decided to do good. A kitchen table where they decided to do good. And they started off by building a smart home for one quadruple amputee. And since then, for 25 years now, we've been going strong and paying off mortgages. Then we paid off Gold Stars, and then we started into paying off first responders. So it's grown over the years from a small kitchen table and honoring the life of their lost brother.
Well, and that just speaks to how far doing good can take you in life. If people want to help, one, I'm seeing here that like $11 can help in certain ways. But if people want to help in any type of way with what you all do, and I can't see why people wouldn't want to extend the good that you all are doing, what do they need to do?
Well, we have a really great website. It's the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. And it has events that we do throughout the country, whether it's golf or stair climbs or 5Ks, and how to volunteer at these events or donate money at $11 a month. And so your audience understands 95 cents out of every dollar that we collect goes directly to our recipients. And we've grown over the years, but we also are very good stewards of the money that people give us.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially for people seeing all different types of things that appeals for their dollars this time of year, to know exactly what it's going to and how much good, again, that it can do. So in this season of hope, what does it mean to you to be able to give back in this way?
Well, I was a New York City detective working on 9/11. I lost a lot of my friends in the fire department and police department. I've lost partners in my assignments in narcotics. And, it wasn't any programs like this back then. But to get on the phone with a recipient and let them know we're there. And when I tell you, reach out to the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, State Troopers, Fire Department, the Gold Star liaisons, and we let them know we're here. there's no expiration date on this. When you want to work with us to get you in the program, we'll be there. And, you know, our reputation speaks for itself. I remember when we were first starting off, I'd call exam from Tunnel to Towers, and people didn't know who we were, which I think I got yelled at once or twice by different police departments. They thought I was scamming them, and it just seems too good to be true. And under Frank Siller and Mary Siller and the board, we've done a lot of good, but we have never lost our way.
God bless you all for the work that you all do. Thank you again for your time joining us today, and for especially helping out Trooper Karn's family.
Good family. God bless you. Take care. Have a great holiday.
Same to you.
Bye-bye.
All right. It's 1:47, everyone. Let's take a break. All right, we're back now at 1:49, everyone. And though we have talked about extremely cold temperatures for this weekend, we know a lot of people will be all fired up and ready for a Bears win on Sunday. We're up against the Browns this week, and our own Cassie Carlson is joining me now from Hallis Hall. Okay, what's the energy like right now? We're coming off of a loss, but we're not out of this thing.
Yeah, I think actually coming off that Green Bay loss, you were disappointed in how the Bears played in the first half, but you were encouraged on how they looked in the second half and the adjustments they made to be able to be in a position to win that game with time winding down in the fourth quarter. And it felt like this rivalry that has been so one-sided over the last handful of years, finally the gap was closed a little bit more. And mind you, you're going to see the Packers in just about 7-8 days, but they do have the 3-win Browns coming into town on Sunday, which is the next game on the schedule. So this team is going to be solely focused on making sure they can find their 10th win against Cleveland. And they're back on the practice field today. They went through a walkthrough yesterday. A little bit colder conditions than Green Bay expected on Sunday, as you mentioned. So this team knows that they can't overlook this team, despite what their record says. They talked about wanting to get into the tournament, as Ben Johnson said, aka the playoffs, and they're probably looking at needing 11 wins, which means in their last 4 games, they're going to need to find 2 more wins.
Ooh, yeah. And you really, at this point, can't count anyone out. So we have Caleb Williams up against Shedeur Sanders. What are we expecting here? What are we looking like on paper here?
Well, I think on paper, you could just look at the records and you know that the Bears are a better team. But the Cleveland Browns and their defense, they're scary. They are the #2 overall defense. They have the top ranked passing defense. And we know that Caleb Williams in this passing game has really struggled to find consistency in the first year under Ben Johnson. It's still something that they are trying to work out some tweaks. And so you look at just how those two match up in those two statistics. And I think the Bears are going to have a heavy emphasis on running the ball against the Browns. Now, the Browns, mind you, they did beat the Packers. They held them to 10 points early on in the season, and the Bears just lost to the Packers if you want to look at common opponents. So defensively, they are a pretty daunting team. They have Myles Garrett, who is 3 sacks away to becoming the sacks leader in a single season in the NFL, breaking Michael Strahan and TJ Watt's record. Caleb Williams said yesterday, they don't want that to come against the Bears. He doesn't want it to come against him. And so I think right now, if you're the Bears offense and you're looking at this Cleveland team, you're looking at who they just played in the Tennessee Titans. The Titans ran for nearly 200 yards against the Browns defense. I think the Bears are going to pound the rock because that's what they are kind of becoming, what is becoming their identity with the second-ranked rushing offense. And that's going to be their key to victory in really, really bitterly cold conditions at Soldier Field.
You could put a few more reallys on that. Yeah. And you mentioned Myles Garrett. Of course, I'm super excited for him to catch that record, to surpass it, but just not on our team. So where are we on the injury report?
Yeah, so the injury report will come out after practice today. Yesterday, because they had a walkthrough, it was just an estimation. And a lot of people are looking at that wide receiver core with Rome Odunze, who did not play in Green Bay because he was dealing with a nagging foot injury. He was back in a limited capacity, so that's a good sign if you're looking at just how you can spread out some of these targets. I think people thought, oh, Odunze is out in Green Bay. DJ Moore is going to get more targets. He's going to be the leading receiver in that game. And it just wasn't the case for DJ Moore, who's had a really down year in terms of his production and what he's used to. But other than that, Kyler Gordon, I think, is the one big question mark that everyone's looking at for the rest of the season, because he was a late scratch in Green Bay because he dealt with a groin injury, which he's been dealing with, and it had him on IR multiple times this season. He was dealing with that before he came off IR, and then he kind of re-injured it during pregame warmups in Green Bay. And when Ben Johnson was asked about if we'll see him for the rest of the season, he said to be determined, and it didn't look very good when he came down from that. So that would hugely impact this defense that has dealt with a ton of injuries throughout the entire season. And you just saw how it impacted them in Green Bay when you're down a player, you're down a starter, and you don't have someone else to step up in his place because the inactives were already due at that time. So those are the two people you're looking out for. Tyreek Stevenson, you hope he gets back because explosives were an issue in Green Bay. So a lot of moving pieces, I think, still on the injury front, hoping to get healthier still and maintain kind of who's available for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Are there any folks that you think like this would be a game when he needs to step up, like next man up? This would be the game when he really needs to shine?
I think late in the season, it's all these guys.
True.
I think one person, if you're looking at matchup wise for this game, it's going to be rookie left tackle Ozzie Trapillo, who's going to be the main guy blocking Myles Garrett. And so for someone who kind of has had I don't want to say up and down, but he's been put in spots throughout this season where he was in the competition to be the starting left tackle as a rookie second-round pick in training camp. He was then removed from that competition because they felt like he'd be better at right tackle. And then because of all these injuries that have happened throughout the season, first it was Braxton Jones, then it was Theo Benedict. He kind of just was thrown into like, next man up, we need you to step up in this moment. And he's since earned himself the starting left tackle job, which is good for a rookie and a second-round pick who a lot of people expected to be a starter in year one. But going up against Myles Garrett is an entirely different task that's going to be at hand. And Ben Johnson said yesterday that it's basically when you leave Myles Garrett one-on-one, that's when he's pretty much unblockable. And Ozzie Trapillo is held up against other guys like TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, but Myles Garrett is the best to do it right now as he is chasing that single season sack record. So I think it's going to be a huge test for the rookie. I'm guessing the Bears are going to chip him a lot, meaning having two guys blocking him, because he is the number one guy you got to look out for on that defense.
Oof, okay. And then if Rome isn't in, would it be Luther Burden?
So that's one of the things with Ben Johnson, that there's so many options with the wide receivers that he could move them around into all different spots. So it could be Luther Burden, who we saw get some targets in Green Bay. DJ Moore, obviously another option. Olamide Zaccheaus had a touchdown catch from Caleb Williams last week. And then you're also looking at the tight ends and Colston Loveland, who's become one of the top targets for Caleb Williams and Cole Kmet. So really the receiver, there's always been an abundance of weapons on this offense and receivers in particular. So Rome Odunze, while he is your top receiver, he has the most targets this season. He's kind of dropped off on the back half of the season a little bit because he started so hot. So I don't think that's so much of a concern. Granted, this is the top passing defense in the league. I just think more you're looking at how this team is building their identity and what they're good at and how they've kept themselves in games and won games. And it's going to be by running the ball behind the offensive line that's now considered one of the best in the NFL, and with their running backs in DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. It
has been such a gift to Caleb to have the offensive line working the way that they have this year.
Definitely.
Yeah. So again, we could not look over the Browns. We've talked about the Browns, but we do have to look right back at the Packers, but this time it'll be at home. So talk about how the home advantage may change things.
I mean, Kevin Byard talked about it yesterday, just the fact that 3 out of their last 4 games are going to be at Soldier Field. So they need fans to be loud. And despite the below zero temperatures that are expected to be up against both teams, really, and when you talk about elements on Sunday, the fans got to get into these games. One thing that is so tough, especially if you're looking at the Cleveland Browns dealing with Shadur Sanders, who's a rookie quarterback, is maybe trying to get them on a silent count, third down. Fans have to be loud so that they have some communication issues potentially. That's all home field advantage that the Bears are going to need. They've been really good at home outside of week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. And so that can play into their favor. You know, Green Bay, they're used to playing in conditions. That's the beauty of the NFC North, is that you're going to get these cold weather games. And so I think just it was a kind of a plea to fans to show up, be loud. And I don't think you need the fans to I think they understand in Chicago just how important these games are. They know the history of the Green Bay and Bears rivalries, and they also know what's at stake. Everyone wants to see the Bears make the playoffs. It's been too long, and they know that they need to find a way to get 2 wins. And beating the Packers, maybe you're back into the conversation of first place in the NFC North.
We understand our assignment. Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll be ready for Sunday and beyond. Cassie, thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about how the rest of your day is looking.
Yeah, we're going to do a little recording with Tina Nguyen for Chicago Sports Tonight, which you can catch at 9:30 tonight on Fox 32 Chicago. And then they have open locker room. So I'm doing a one-on-one this week with Olamide Zaccheaus. He caught that 1-yard touchdown pass in Green Bay. It was actually the lowest probability pass in Caleb Williams' career that he caught for a touchdown. So that was cool. And he's been a journeyman, and will be cool to hear kind of his perspective of being on a new team with a first-year head coach that's having so much success. And then we do a little story for the 5 and 9 o'clock sportscast, and then we're out of here. So it's been it's always fun at Hallis Hall when they're winning, I would tell you that. So it's fun to still feel, despite the Bears coming off a loss, that they have confidence and they still have a lot of momentum for the rest of the season.
We still have momentum for sure. Thank you so much, Cassie.
Thanks, Anita.
We appreciate you. All right, everybody, it's just about 2 o'clock. Let's take a quick break, and then I'll set everything up for the 2 o'clock hour. All right, everyone, we are now in the 2 o'clock hour of Chicago Live. Thank you so much if you've been here from the start at 1 o'clock. And for those of you all who are just joining in, let's talk a little bit about what we are expecting in this hour. We're going to talk about the weather outside. It's going to get a little frightful as we go into the weekend. We'll get a little snow, but the temperatures are really the big story. And so we're hoping to have one of our meteorologists come up to talk to us about what we should expect. All of us should be preparing now for what is to come, whether you have indoor or outdoor activities for sure, and there's plenty of both. We'll also bring in a former prosecutor who has now started a podcast to talk about one of the biggest trials that people across the country are watching, and that is the Brian Walsh trial. It's out of Massachusetts, a husband who is now on trial for the death of his wife, Anna Walsh, who has not been seen since New Year's Day of 2023, I believe now. And there are just so many different aspects to that are questionable about her disappearance, her death. There has never been a body that has been found, but her husband has pleaded guilty to misleading the police, but not actually killing his wife. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to start, though, with Nicor Gas rate hikes. Obviously, a lot of people throughout the country were really excited about interest rate cuts this week, as we should be. Any type of savings that we can get is a good thing. But there is a State of the Illinois gas market review that's raising some new concerns, very serious concerns, at a time when so many people are looking at rising this, rising that. Much of that is for necessities. They're looking at escalating heating gas prices and serial rate hike proposals by the region's utilities that they say are likely to exacerbate hardships for Illinois households in these winter, very cold months. So I want to go ahead and bring in Jim Chilson, the Communications Director for Citizens Utility Board. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for having me. I wish it were a happier topic.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about this new review.
Yeah, CUB, along with Illinois PIRG, we're both consumer advocates. We advocate for gas customers. We took a look at what consumers are facing these days. And what they're getting hit with right now is a double whammy as we go into the winter heating season. Nicor customers, you mentioned Nicor customers, also People's Gas customers in Chicago. Nicor customers right now just got hit with the 5th rate hike since 2017. The company has raised delivery charges on bills. There's delivery and there's supply. They've raised delivery charges on bills by about $898 million, or about 137%. That was easier to digest, those serial rate hikes, even though they were incredibly annoying and frustrating for consumer advocates like CUB. Those were easier to digest for customers when gas supply prices were low. Well, guess what? Gas supply prices are up big time now. In fact, Nicor's price in December is up about 56%. Nicor's is up about 28%, or excuse me, People's Gas is up about 28% in December, and we're looking at People's Gas filing for a delivery rate hike in 2026. So this has been a double whammy that's been hitting customers in recent years. They get hit with increases on both sides of the bill, both the supply section, which is about a third of the bill, and now the delivery section with these serial rate hikes, which is about 2/3 of the bill.
And the flip side of that is that the utilities have excessive profits, you're saying?
Absolutely. I mean, right in the first 9 months, only the first 9 months of 2025, Nicor's parent company, Southern Company, has raked in about $3.9 billion. WEC Energy Group, which is the parent company of People's Gas, which will be asking for a rate hike in 2026, raked in about $1.24 billion over the first 9 months. So we're really concerned about consumers this winter. You've reported, I'm sure, costs are going up across the board. Healthcare costs, grocery costs, rent, mortgage, and now consumers have to face these escalating gas bills.
And so when you say you're an advocate, Who are you speaking to? How are you trying to get some change created?
Absolutely. Well, we fight as Cub, as an advocate for Illinois gas customers. We fight these rate hikes before the Illinois Commerce Commission. We helped, along with other hardworking consumer advocates like Illinois PIRG and like Environmental Defense Fund. We were able to help cut Nicor's rate hike by about 47%, which is a big step in the right direction. But obviously, customers are suffering, and so we're really worried about that. We also try to educate consumers at citizensutilityboard.org about energy efficiency. You know, the cheapest therm is the therm that you never use. So what we worry about in a winter like this, it's been very cold. We worry that people see these headlines of high gas bills and they'll take unnecessary risks to lower their gas bills. And we just want to tell people energy efficiency is always about reducing waste, but keeping your home safe and warm. So we just ask people to look out for their neighbors, their friends and family, and make sure that nobody's taking undue risks. Energy efficiency is about eliminating waste, but still keeping your home safe and warm.
And you all are doing this work, of course, here in Illinois, but is this a part of a national trend that we're seeing?
Oh, yeah, this is happening across the country. Is gas prices on the supply side are becoming much more volatile because gas producers are sending that gas overseas through liquefied natural gas, That's creating a lot of lower supply here, and it's causing prices to go through the roof. So we're working on, a state, regional, and national level, to promote energy efficiency, to promote better policy, and to, give consumers more access to cleaner and more efficient options to heat their homes. It's not going to happen overnight, but, when you see this type of volatility, you see consumers just really concerned and worried about their gas bills, that we need to move toward, ways that will allow them to heat their homes in much more efficient ways and much cleaner ways.
Yeah. So while you were doing this work, I feel like in a lot of different areas that we have discussions on, there's a know your rights type of element to it. What would you say to people at home when it comes to this?
Yeah, well, I would say that, always, advocate for yourself before the utility. If you get a gas bill that you don't understand, always call the utility and find out what's going on. Find out, why did my gas bill go through the roof? Always make your first call to the utility. If then you have questions or you're not satisfied, you're not happy with the kind of experience you had with the gas utility, and believe me, there's a lot of people like that, please then absolutely give Cub a call, the citizensutilityboard.org. Go there. You can file a complaint online. You can always call our hotline number, 1-800-669-5556. But first, we recommend always making that first call to the utility. And Perry, I just want to give a huge warning to consumers, is that in Northern Illinois, you can go with another company other than the utility to supply you with gas. That's just on the supply section of your bill. You'll still get a gas utility bill, but on that supply section, it'll list a different company. We have seen one story after another, horribly sad stories of people paying ridiculously high gas bills because they got lured into a bad deal. So even when we talk about gas utility prices are high for Nicor and People's Gas right now, people should know that if somebody comes to your door, knocks on your door and says, I've got a deal, and it seems too good to be true, it probably is. We have seen so many people get lured into horrible deals and end up paying even higher gas bills. So please beware of alternative suppliers. We are working in Springfield to try to increase consumer protections to protect consumers from these bad deals.
Jim, we appreciate you enlightening us, educating us, especially on what everyone can do at home if they don't understand what they are seeing, especially the numbers that may be on the rise here, and for what you're doing to try to make sure those numbers don't just continue to rise. Thank you so much, Jim Chilson with the Citizens Utility Board. Okay, it is 2:11, everyone, and I'm so glad that each hour we are afforded the ability to go back to the Lurie Children's Radiothon that's going on. It's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to do some good for so many children and families who need us most. Let's go back to Casey Cronus, who is there, and I believe she has someone who has really mastered our craft over the last year, Casey.
Anita, we have a very special guest joining us now. Viviana Gonzalez not only is a former patient here at Lurie's who was battling leukemia for more than 2 years, but at the end of June, she rung the bell after finishing her treatment. Viviana, congratulations. We are all so happy for you, and even more special to make this full circle, Viviana was on our air in June with Gabriella Primus as our reporter of the day. So you are a pro at this. First of all, congratulations again. Thank you for joining us. What are you most excited about to be here at the Radiothon for?
I'm very excited to meet everybody. I've already had 4 to do all of these radio.
Lots of interviews.
Yes, very exciting.
Now, have you seen any of your old doctors or nurses? I know you saw Hawk, who is that facility dog that you were on our air with in June. Who else have you seen?
I actually haven't seen a lot of my doctors at all.
They're probably pretty busy.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your journey and the treatment, and what did it feel like to ring that bell at the end of June?
It was really hard to go through all of that I went through, seeing my mom. Yeah, it was sad, but I got through it, and now I'm here. And ringing the bell, it felt amazing. That day, it was very emotional, but I was so happy.
Viviana is just 10 years old in 5th grade, and she has gone through more than some people go through in an entire lifetime. Are you happy to be back here, see some familiar faces and a familiar space?
Yes.
What else are you looking forward to for the rest of the day?
I'm just looking forward to walking around, just maybe going on the 18th floor to go see my doctors.
And Viviana, the holidays are coming up, and you are decked out with your necklace, your headband. What do you want for Christmas?
Shoes, an iPad, maybe.
I love it. All good things. What kind of shoes?
Nikes, black and white Nikes.
There you go, black and white Nikes. Well, we just heard some cheering and applause and a bell ringing. That means that we got another donation here at the Lurie Children's Radiothon. And I think we just got another one too. So if you are at home and you would like to donate, this is the phone number to take down. It is 1-888-831-7733. You can call directly, make a donation. This is one of the hospital's biggest fundraisers each year. Last year, raising more than $1 million. The total won't be announced until the end of the day, but you can still make donations through the weekend. Again, the phone number is 1-888-831-7733, or you can simply send a text Lurie, that's Lurie, to 34984. Anita, do you have any questions here for Viviana before we let her go?
Well, it's just so exciting to see Miss Viviana again. I'd love to know how her school year is going.
Viviana, Anita is wondering how your school year is going. You're in 5th grade. What are you studying? What types of activities are you involved in?
I'm doing fractions right now.
Fractions.
Yes. Very boring, stressful.
Stressful is right. Fractions were always a tough one. What else is going on at school?
Not much, just normal school things.
And you're probably coming up on a winter break soon, right? When does that start?
I have 1 more week left, and then I'm on winter break.
And for how long? A couple weeks?
I actually don't know.
Probably a couple weeks. And any holiday plans?
Going to my grandma's house.
Oh.
That'll be awesome. Anita?
Casey, I would also like to know, did her time as our kid reporter influence her to maybe want to be a reporter one day, or what her future goals are?
Great question. So we're also wondering what you want to do when you grow up. Was reporting in June maybe something that gave you a little bit of excitement to want to do, or do you have eyes set on something else?
I have been wanting to be a teacher since I was in 2nd grade.
Wonderful. Well, you would make for an amazing teacher, and with such an inspiring story too. What age group would you want to teach?
Maybe kindergarten or 3rd grade.
Well, Viviana, we wish you all the best and congratulations again on such a huge accomplishment. The Radiothon raises funds for patients like Viviana and families like hers. And we just got another donation here. We want to keep the bells ringing here, the applause going. All of the funds, again, go right back to the patients and the families who matter most.
Yay, Viviana. Casey, thank you so much for catching up with one of our favorites.
You're so welcome. Isn't she great?
She is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I know she's going to be an awesome teacher.
She will be.
Okay, everybody. 217 right now. Let me just reiterate that number and also the information that you need to know so that you can be a part of helping with the Lurie Children's Radiothon that's going on today. As we've been getting in more and more of those bell ringings and the things that have been happening today, we've been giving you the information. I believe we do. Perry, do we have it where we can put it on? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so you want to call 1-888-831-7733. Again, 1-888-831-7733 so that you can donate and be a part of this very special day. We're going to go back one more time before we get out of here at 4 o'clock so that we can see how things are going, the energy that's there, the wonderful things that are happening today that will go such a long way in helping children and their families when they need us all most. Anyone could end up having to be at Lurie Children's at some point in time in their life, whether you're a parent and you end up having to take your child there or whether it is the child that ends up having to spend time there. Let's all be of service because none of us know if it could be us that is in need of that same type of help. So use that number, make your call. We'll check back in there and see who else we can catch up throughout the rest of the afternoon. It's about 2:19 though. Let's take a break. Hey, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:21 right now, and right at the beginning of our broadcast today in the 1 o'clock hour, we took you inside of the courtroom for a pretrial hearing for the man who is accused of killing Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, just 22 years old, who's now accused of murdering him in such a public way. They went into a closed session so that they could discuss maybe some sensitive information without it going out to the public. But we have a federal criminal trial attorney who is joining me now so that we can discuss this trial that will no doubt have a lot of eyeballs on it. Andrew Stoltman, thank you so much, Attorney Stoltman, for your time.
Thank you.
So let me just right off the top ask you your thoughts on how this trial could proceed.
Well, we are probably in inning 2 right now, and there's obviously a very, very long way to go. In fact, the trial date hasn't even been set yet. I think right now, today in court, they're kind of going over some of the logistical matters of that potential trial. And one of the biggest things they're discussing today is whether cameras are going to be allowed during the trial. And you know, you probably remember the O.J. Simpson trial and how it kind of turned it into a circus.
Yeah.
But there are also people who believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Yeah. And interestingly enough, Charlie Kirk's widow is one of the people who does want cameras in the courtroom. So we will see how this judge reacts to this issue and to the motions to allow cameras in the courtroom.
Yeah, if the widow wants cameras in, what would be the argument for not having them in there?
The biggest argument is coming from the defendant himself and his lawyers. And basically what they're saying is, look, the state of Utah is trying to put our client to death. There is a death penalty option on the table for the jury at the end of this trial. And their argument is any cameras inside of the courtroom turn it into a circus, even on a pre-trial basis. Potential jurors in Utah can see this coverage, and it tends to either intimidate them or possibly make them more likely to convict the defendant. Now, look, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's certainly the perception, at least the arguments that are being raised by the alleged killer's attorneys.
Yeah, I think back to like the Brian Kohberger trial, and I think there was some of that same argument with the death penalty being on the table then too, that if more people were able to see inside, it would kind of taint the jury pool. Do you think that they will keep this trial, should it go forth to a full trial, in Utah?
You know, I think it should. And again, the defense lawyers are going to argue, wow, there is so much publicity and this got such local news, besides national as well, that it is impossible for this defendant to get a fair trial. Now, I don't necessarily believe that. I think just because you see some news coverage about a potential case, I don't think that should preclude you from deciding that case. But certainly there have been a whole bunch of judges over the years who have disagreed with that. I think the crime took place in Utah, and I think this defendant is from Utah, and I think it should ultimately be the people of Utah who decide his fate.
And of course, Charlie Kirk was killed in September. I feel like it was like October when this Tyler Robinson did get a bit of a win in terms of the judicial system when he was allowed to be able to wear plain clothes for this trial.
Yeah, you know, look, absolutely. I mean, if you accept the argument that right now potential jurors are watching this case, nothing makes somebody look more guilty than sitting in an orange jumpsuit. So, yeah, I do think he got a little bit of a break on that. But I'll tell you something. I think there is a tsunami of evidence against him. I think he faces a very much of an uphill climb. There are a whole bunch of really, really damaging pieces of evidence out there that I think are going to get this guy convicted. But that's why we have trials.
Yeah. Do you think that the FBI misstating who they thought was the suspect initially could play a factor into this case?
Well, I would certainly expect an enterprising defense lawyer to argue that and say, look, they detained somebody who is the real killer. They detained the right guy, and now they have the wrong guy. But over the years, it's been a pretty persuasive argument for the police to say, look, this was a chaotic scene. There were people running everywhere. We got some bad information. We detained this guy. We found out it wasn't him. And oh, by the way, now we have the right guy. Now we have the guy who confessed to it to his girlfriend. We have a DNA match. We have all these data points that are going to be really, really hard for this defendant to get over.
Yeah. Would there be a way of them getting death penalty off of the list of possibilities?
Yeah, it's going to be really, really hard. I mean, sometimes if you can establish that the defendant has an extremely low IQ, there are some ways you can do it. I don't know if this is going to be the defendant where they can potentially do that. Look, and even if he does get it, I mean, these executions take 15, 20, 25 years to carry out. So it's going to be a long way off, but I guarantee you him and his defense lawyers would really like to get that off the table any way they can.
Yeah, I mean, that, in a sense, maybe I would think if you know that the evidence is just stacked against your client, that's at least one win that you could get if death penalty were taken off of the table. Let me ask you, given your background, are there anything that surprises you at this point, or things that you're going to be really looking for as this proceeds forward?
No surprises yet, but we are so early in this process. The judge is going to make a whole bunch of evidentiary rulings with respect to search warrants, searches of this defendant's property. The DNA evidence will most certainly be challenged. So a lot of these cases are kind of won and lost before the jury ever deliberates. I think we're going to see a whole bunch of motions in the coming months, but I think we're a little too early for some of that right now.
Yeah. And of course, Charlie Kirk was a personal friend of the president, the vice president, and many others in his administration. How do you think, if you think, that will factor into all of this?
I think it will. I mean, when you have someone like the President of the United States with the megaphone that he has, he will be pontificating on this case, on the defendant, all these potential issues. And so that is extremely powerful. And look, I think prosecutors have enough evidence already to convict the guy. But when you have the president, the vice president, other extraordinarily powerful people basically talking about this case, it sure can cause problems with respect to the defendant and getting a fair trial.
Yeah. So we're looking at what's happening in the state right now. Could there be something federally that's lobbed against him at some point in time?
There could, but I have a feeling you got some good prosecutors out there. You got some good evidence out there. I think the feds will stand down, let the state take lead on this, and get, hopefully, or at least what many people are hoping is a conviction.
Okay. Attorney Stoltman, thank you so much for your expertise today, and I'm sure we'll be calling back on you. Appreciated the conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So just in the beginning stages of what could be a well-watched and very contentious trial ahead for 22-year-old Tyler Robinson for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's 2:30 right now. Let's take a quick break. 2:33 right now. The defense has rested in the murder trial of Brian Walsh. He is the Massachusetts man who is accused of killing and dismembering his wife. After attorneys informed the court, though, that their defendants will not testify, it essentially amounts to them not calling any witnesses. So let's go ahead and bring in Alice LaCour from the Prosecutor's Podcast. She's a former federal prosecutor. Thank you for coming back on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
What do you take from this defense posture of arresting without calling any witnesses, including their client?
Look, it's a shocker, especially with the defense's opening, saying that they were going to show how Brian panicked when he found his wife dead unexpectedly in bed. But as we heard throughout the trial, there were these really worrisome texts like, can you identify a dead body with broken teeth? If she died unexpectedly, why are her teeth broken? Why would he think to dismember her body instead of doing what anyone does, calling 911 to try and save her life? These were questions that he was going to face on the stand. And those were questions that only he could answer because there were no other witnesses for his version of the story. So for them to rest, I think, is a huge blow to their story, but he's allowed not to take the stand because of the Fifth Amendment right, not to testify against yourself.
And I guess there's so much that's just odd about this. When they say that, okay, he is not admitting to killing his wife, but he is admitting to misleading the police. Why would you mislead the police if you have nothing to hide?
Great question. He was charged with 3 counts here, and he pled guilty, like you said, to misleading the police and to dismembering her body. What he doesn't plead guilty to is first-degree murder. Now, here's the tactic I think the defense is going after. First-degree murder requires premeditation. He had to think about it beforehand. And the prosecution has the burden to prove it. Now, you and I are probably thinking, why would you dismember a body and why would you mislead the police if you weren't guilty? It's that added element of the premeditation that the defense was just going to swing at it. They were going to the roulette table and seeing if they could get at least one juror to say the prosecution didn't prove their case. Now, the prosecution put forth really strong witnesses regarding motive, regarding blood found on hacksaws and hatchets, and all of these searches happening right after we think that Brian murdered his wife. So it's a strong case put on by the prosecution. I don't think that the defense's bet of seeing if the prosecution can meet their burden is going to pay off in the end.
Yeah, you're saying like, oh, we got to find her, let the community know. But then in court, you're saying she died in bed. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense because if you remember when he first reported her missing, by the way, he reported her missing. I don't believe he reported her missing. A friend reported her missing 4 days after she was last seen. In that interim, he was seen buying cover-up materials, baking soda, trash cans, these like suits to keep blood off of himself. And he's not the one reporting her missing. And when he first talks to the police, he says, I haven't seen her since she left to go to a work emergency on January 1st in Washington, D.C. She's a real estate agent. What kind of emergencies are happening on January 1st? He couldn't answer those questions. Months, years later, he finally says, you know what? You're right. She's dead. But she woke up dead. You know, I woke up with her dead next to me. I had nothing to do with it. That's such a different story and immediately makes anyone listening, including law enforcement and prosecutors, raise their eyebrows.
Yeah. And two, at this point in time, let's just kind of walk back this couple's relationship. It was troubled.
It was very troubled. That was something that came out during trial. So this couple had seemingly a happy marriage at first glance. She had this thriving real estate business in Washington, D.C., but the complicating factor was that her husband, Brian, couldn't move to Washington, D.C. with her because he was actually facing fraud charges in Massachusetts for selling fraudulent artwork. And he was facing those charges, which was a real strain on their marriage. And so while she was going back and forth to DC, there was this tension among their marriage. They had these 3 young children under the age of 6. And she was spending all this time away from him. There's allegations that she may have had crushes or had an affair with other people that he then found out about. But what we do know is that she confided in 2 close friends just days before she went missing. On December 29th, she was in tears and in complete shambles with her 2 closest friends, telling them that there were cracks in her marriage, that the marriage problems were very serious, and she didn't know what to do. That is a huge juxtaposition to what Brian said when he said they had the perfect marriage.
Yeah, the perfect marriage. I think that is even the title of like some Hallmark movie that was about something similar to this. But so we saw right around jury selection time, the shocker at that point was him changing his plea to misleading police, moving his wife's body, acknowledging there was a death. Do you think there could be any more shockers at this point?
That was such a shocker because it was the first day of jury selection. And here's what I think happened. He had to plead guilty there because he has no other defense. His best defense is what his defense attorneys presented in opening statements, that she did in fact die, but it was not at his hands. And so they had to basically strategize how to present that argument. And in doing so, he had to admit that she was dead, because that was going to be a lot harder. He was going to look like a liar if all of these pieces of evidence, like the DNA, like the blood clots, like the soaked rug with blood, all of these things were going to make him look like a complete liar if he did not acknowledge the fact that he knew she was dead and he moved her body in a dismembering way. Now, with respect to the shock, the biggest shock I think that can happen now is what the jury will do. If the jury doesn't come back with a guilty verdict, I think that's a shock, because he did not testify and the defense wasn't able to put up a single witness to support their alternative theory of what happened, and because the evidence is overwhelming against him. So I think that's the next big shock if the jury comes back with a not guilty verdict.
Yeah, much different trial. I'll say that from the outset before I say what I'm about to say. Much different trial, but like, you know, many of us watched the Diddy trial recently, and some people were shocked that they didn't put him on the stand, that his defense didn't put him on the stand. And then once he won, essentially in many respects, the thought was like, oh, maybe it was genius that they didn't put him on the stand. Like maybe it actually helped that they didn't put him on the stand. Could it help them not putting him on the stand, even if it seems like there's a ton of evidence against him?
Absolutely. It was the right call not to put Diddy on the stand, and it likely is the right call not to put Brian on the stand. And the reason is, when your attorneys know that you can do more damage on the stand than not, it's likely that he did not have good answers to the hard questions he was going to have to face from the prosecutors, and it's likely that he would come off very unlikable. And if the jury does not like you, even if you're believable, you're not in a really good position. So it's almost better to leave a black hole and let the jury think, well, we do have the right not to testify against ourselves, because the jury will be instructed that no person needs to testify against themselves. They will get that instruction. So the defense may be relying on that, saying, remember what the law says. Every single one of us has the right to plead the fifth, and that's what's happening here, and you can't hold it against him. And then bank on the fact that if he took the stand, it would have done more damage.
All right. You mentioned the fact that, you know, you don't want to look like a liar and by doing certain things, but doesn't he already kind of look like a liar with the fraud charges that were not even a part of this case?
It's not a good look for him. And on the last day of trial, that's exactly what happened. Both sides stipulated, meaning they agreed. They didn't have to present evidence on it. They presented it as fact to the jury that he was guilty of art fraud charges, That's really bad because you can imagine those jurors are thinking, once a fraudster, once a liar, always a liar. So that is not a good thing. Now, of course, you can imagine what the defense is going to argue. Selling fake art is not murder. Those are two completely different things. One is just he got lazy. He didn't do the right certifications. He was, a victim to the fraud. But murder, he would never do that to his loving wife. You can imagine that will be their argument. But you're right. That is not going to look good for him, that he already has these federal fraud charges against him.
At the very least, it makes people question your character. So how long do you think deliberation could take? I always get interested in this aspect of it. Some people kind of do like these calculations for however many days it took for the prosecutors to lay out the case. There's a set equation as to how long it may take for a jury. Do you believe in those things, or how long do you think this could take?
Definitely is case by case. The general rule is the less time they deliberate, the better for the prosecution. But in this case, they haven't started closing arguments yet because when they came into court today, they thought the defense was going to present witnesses, as they said. They were expecting another week of testimony. And so because the defense rested, everyone was sent home. They won't have closing arguments until tomorrow, meaning jury instructions and closing arguments will take all day. Likely, if the jury even gets to deliberate tomorrow, it will be just at the end of the day, maybe an hour or two. I do not believe that they will reach a verdict before the weekend. Likely, they're going to go back there, take a drink of water, take an initial poll, get a jury foreman in place, and then probably all go home for the weekend. So if you see that the jury disbands and goes home for the weekend, don't be alarmed. I think that's absolutely what we should expect. But I expect a verdict early next week, maybe mid next week at the latest, because they do have 2 weeks worth of trial to go through. Mm-hmm. But if it's past the middle of the week, I start to get worried about a mistrial or maybe even an acquittal.
Oh, wow. And what could he possibly, if he is convicted, what could he be facing?
If he's convicted of the highest, first-degree murder, because remember, if they can't find the premeditation, it's possible that they can find him guilty of something lesser. I think the sentence here is potentially life here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let me ask you, because he changed his plea at the end to a different set of charges, does that mean that at some later date, if some evidence actually proves the full story, if there's more to it than what he has said, that charges of first-degree murder or charges, any other charges could come at a later date?
So whether it's good or bad, we have the double jeopardy rule in our Constitution. So now that he's been tried, even before there's a verdict, he can't be charged yet again on first degree murder because that charge has already been brought. Now you're right. If something else comes out, let's say that they find maybe more hiding of evidence, or maybe he conspired with someone else to kill her. Other charges that are not first-degree murder or misleading the police on the specific facts or dismembering of the body, they can be brought. The biggest one I could see is if he perhaps conspired with somebody else. But based on the facts we've seen so far, it appears that he acted alone. This was a horrific crime, a horrific domestic violence crime.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll be looking to see what happens likely next week. And maybe we'll have to circle back around with you and get your impression of how things maybe wrap up.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you for your time. Again, Alice Nicor of the Prosecutors Podcast. It's 2:47, everyone. Let's take a moment and regroup and come right back. All right, everyone, about 2:50 right now. Chief Meteorologist, I just love saying that.
I love hearing
Chief
it.
Meteorologist Emily Wiles here to get us up to date on what we need to know about this weather. So let's talk precipitation first. Are we good on that, or when's the next round?
So next round is actually going to be possible this evening and tonight, but not really everywhere. So there's been some changes with the forecast. As you can see right here, we actually have a little bit of sunlight trying to pop through. We've seen a glimpse of the sunshine today. But it is still cold with temperatures that are only in the 20s. But tonight we have another storm system that's going to be passing mainly south of the region, but there is a chance for places like LaSalle County, Kendall, Grundy County, Kankakee, Newton, Jasper. So think the far southern tier of counties and the far southwestern tier of counties where we could be seeing an inch or two of accumulation, but elsewhere I think it's just going to be a dusting. So not a major deal in the Chicago metro. If you have plans this evening, tonight, that snow is going to begin likely well after sunset. So it's not going to impact the afternoon or evening commute unless you're traveling after dark. But then again, the brunt of it's going to be well south of the area, just an inch or two possible in the far south and southwestern sections. And then on Friday morning, that's coming to an end. We'll have just a couple scattered snow showers here or there. The majority of the day tomorrow is dry. We'll have highs right around 30 degrees. Then Saturday's kind of a really similar deal to what we have actually taking place tonight. There's another storm system coming through, and the overall trend here is that it's pushing farther to the south. So for those of you that you're sick of the snow, you want a break, we might get lucky on Saturday with that going maybe even entirely south of the area.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be something to watch. As of now, I'm not ready to pull those precipitation chances just yet because we're so close to the cutoff to either seeing snow or none at all.
And what would change that?
So essentially, it's coming down to the jet stream and exactly what's pulling it. And then all systems, they interact with each other, even if they're far apart. So you can think of all of the highs, the lows that you would see peppered across the United States. And they're all interacting. So it really depends on exactly where the other ones line up, too, on how far south this one's going to be pulled. So at this point, it looks like it's going to go south. Again, I'm just not ready to entirely pull those precipitation chances. But the bigger weather story this weekend really is the cold. I kind of buried the lead here. It's going to be so cold this weekend. Temps on Saturday between 10 and 15 degrees above zero, but it's going to be gusty with that system so close by. So wind chill temperature is going to be 0 or below.
Such a game changer.
Well, and then it gets even worse, Anita. Saturday night into Sunday, we will likely have an area-wide cold weather advisory, which has taken the place of the wind chill advisory. For wind chills as cold as about 20 to 25 degrees below zero Saturday night into Sunday. And Sunday's a big day around here.
It is.
We have the
Bears
game.
Browns.
Yes, and it's going to be very cold for fans. In the morning, actual air temps are going to be right around zero. But again, those wind chills in the morning, very easily, I think even after the sun comes up, 15 to 20 below. So that's what fans need to be prepared for if they're going to be out and about. And then during the day, we are only warming to 10 and that 10 degrees.
Warming to 10 just sounds
10.
like...
I know. And, I've had a lot of questions about the wind specifically. We're going to have some wind around on Sunday, but it's not going to be, we're not talking wind gusts 25, 30 miles per hour. But when you have temperatures that are just barely in the double digits, a 5 to 10 mile per hour wind makes a huge difference. So even during the day, we're looking at sub-zero wind chills. It's going to be frigid all day.
All right. So let's prepare people or maybe talk.
Safety.
Listen, Bears fans are going to do what Bears fans are going to do.
Yeah.
So let's say that. But maybe somebody is going to the game for the first time. Maybe this is going to be their first game. How do you need to prepare?
You need to be covered. So when we're talking temperatures that are this cold, especially when there's an element of a breeze, yes, you're going to be in a stadium, but it's an open air stadium. So you can still get those winds whipping around a little bit.
3 to 4 hours outdoors.
Yes. So if I was going out, I would be covering everything, wearing sunglasses to even cover my eyes, just because you don't want to get frostbite. Your nose is always susceptible to that as well. So find ways, scarves, whatever you need to do to keep your skin covered, because if you're going to be outside for a couple hours, you absolutely can get frostbite. And it's one of those things too that when it's happening, you don't always know it's happening as it's occurring.
Yeah.
It's something that you realize afterward when you're warming up and you're like, hey, like I'm a little tingly, like I'm not, my circulation doesn't feel right.
Like, I can't feel my pinky.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But this weekend, if you're going to be out and about, invest in the hand warmers and put them in your boots, as well. Just try to stay warm, layer up. But it's one of those things that if you can and you're willing to limit your time outdoors this weekend, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, and maybe watch the game at a bar, some of the bars that are nearby. But we want to be out at the game too. They need us to be out at the game. We just need to prepare ourselves to be out there.
And you know what? The more people at the game, you can huddle together and keep everybody warm.
A little warmth from your friends will do you a lot of good. So things are frigid when we look forward to temperatures in the 30s.
Yes, and next week we're going to get there. So, this whole month so far.
We'll get there.
We'll get there, yeah. This whole month so far, we've been seeing below average conditions, with the exception being yesterday when we actually topped out at 40, but that was almost kind of a trick too, because that happened around midnight and none of us were awake to enjoy it. But yes, we finally have warmer air that's going to build in next week. And this weather pattern that we've been stuck into with all of these Alberta clippers coming through typically every day and a half, that's going to break down next week. So this snowy weather pattern, we're getting a break from that as well. Temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 30s. And guys, that's where we should be. We've been anything but spoiled this December. Actually, the first little bit of December that we've had has been the coldest that we've seen in 15 years.
Wow. So coldest and what, snowiest?
And snowiest since 1978.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I mean, we're not breaking records, but it just goes to show you that it's not typical what we've been experiencing. We really jumped right on into winter.
Yeah.
Mother Nature meant business, and it looks like toward the second half of this month, so going toward the Christmas holiday, I think we're going to be a little bit more mild.
Yeah. I think if there is like one bright side to what I've seen in the last couple of days, it's that rain snow mix kind of got rid of. Look, it's so gorgeous when the snow is coming down. It's like, oh my gosh, I live in a winter wonderland. It's amazing. And then you see it collected on the side of the road for like days on end, and you're like, it's dirty, it's dingy. What are we gonna do with this?
We like the fresh layer of snow. So but we will add to that a little bit tonight, just enough for a dusting. But it's not we're not looking at any major snows anytime soon. So I think that pattern shift is already begun to take place. So for those of you hoping for the big snows, you're going to have to go somewhere else.
Road safety, are we looking at, like, I know wind sometimes can be a factor in how well the treatment does on the road?
That, but also it has to do with the temperatures more than anything. So salt really isn't that effective once temperatures drop below 10, 14 degrees or so. So we're going to be in that range this weekend. So if we do get that snow on Saturday, unfortunately, it's going to be one of those things that salt isn't going to, it'll still work, but very slowly. So it's not as effective on a time schedule that we're used to, right? So if we're able to break into some sun, which we will get by Sunday, that's going to help us a lot too. Because when you have the sunshine out and it beats on the roads, that helps melt the snow that we have, especially with salt. But yeah, salt is not going to be nearly as effective this weekend. So even after tonight's snow, with tomorrow's temperatures near 30, take advantage of those warm temperatures. Shovel the driveways, get it done, get it out of the way, lay down that salt, and then you should be in good shape for the weekend.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Like, what are the things we should be doing around our homes to prepare for these cold temperatures?
And the really cold temperatures, if you live in a home where your pipes are susceptible to freezing, we're getting to that range this weekend with low temperatures right around zero. Actually, Saturday night, a large portion of the viewing area very easily looking at actual air temperatures 5 to 10 degrees below zero. So that 0 degrees that you saw on the 7-day, that's for O'Hare. That's in the city of Chicago. Outlying areas will be dropping below zero, so you're going to want to leave your faucets dripping. That's very helpful to hopefully keep them from freezing. But anytime your temps drop below 10 degrees, that's when you should start considering, if you're not going to be home using the water regularly, just kind of click those
Leave it on
faucets
a
on a
drip.
little bit. Yep.
Okay. Emily, we appreciate you. It gets a little tough this time of year to say I appreciate it.
But you know what?
I appreciate the information, though.
All of this makes Chicago spring, summer, and fall worth it.
There you go, because we have been through it to get there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when summertime shy rolls around, we're like, yes,
Yes.
you've relieved us.
Makes
We've
it
been
worth it.
delivered. Yeah. Thank you so much. Everybody, it's about 3 o'clock. We'll be right back, and I'll set you up for the last hour here on Chicago Live. 3:03 right now, everyone. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in this final hour here on Chicago Live. So we're going to check back in with our friends at Lurie's for the radiothon that's going on. We can all be of service in some type of way. We'll give you more information and kind of give you a live look inside so that you can see the operation that's going on to try to raise over $1 million in one day. We know that we can do it. We just need everyone to be a part of the effort. Of course, it's to help children and their families, and it goes a long way, the money that we'll be able to raise today. So we want to check back in, hear some bells ringing, see some phone calls that are coming in, and we'll give you more information again about how you can be a part of the Lurie Radiothon that's going on today, the Lurie Children's Radiothon. We'll also, we're going to bring in Attorney Karen Conti, who is going to talk about a story that so many people watched online, and I'll say devolve online yesterday. The University of Michigan coach, Sharon Moore, beginning part of the day, he's fired. By the end of the day, he's in police custody, and it's not for what he was fired for. So there was just a lot going on over the course of that day. We're going to talk to her about how things proceed forward from here for him and for the University of Michigan now. But we want to start here with what is an ongoing conversation, a nuanced conversation here in the city of Chicago. When we have seen on multiple occasions gatherings of young people, especially in downtown, but we've seen it in some of the other areas as well, where there are gatherings of young people that come together. Typically, there is a social media post before they have one of these gatherings. They've been dubbed now teen takeovers. And in many instances, they have led to violence. Not all, but in many instances, they have led to violence. And so there are many conversations as to how to keep these things from happening. And there are several aldermen who are looking at what can be done from a legal standpoint to, one, keep the peace, and two, protect these young people and their young lives moving forward, but also to help businesses in the area and many other things as well. So I want to bring in Alderman William Hall, who has introduced a new ordinance, and I'd love for you to detail what's going on here. I mentioned the fact that so often with these gatherings, because they are young people, most of it starts online.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for making time for this important conversation. We saw yesterday, on the same day in which we filed our ordinance, which is now the Committee on Public Safety, Australia banned social media for kids under 16 years old because of the effect and the danger that it has. And so we are doing our part in the city of Chicago in protecting our children. Online, social media activity is dangerous. And sometimes we overlook what role that they play in some of these violent gatherings. On that Friday, when children were downtown, hopefully seeing a tree being lit, they were also downtown to partake in what we saw was a catastrophic event. And so what we want social media companies to do is to do their job. If this is their standards, we're just asking them to uphold their own standards.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is that if a post is made, which again, they frequently are, saying, hey, time, place, this is what's going down, and the city reaches out to say, hey, take that down before anything ever happens, that the social media platform should be held liable for not taking it down if something should happen.
Well, first of all, the superintendent of police, Superintendent Snelling, has shared that, in times past, social media companies have been an asset, have been a partner in literally stopping these accounts, blocking them because it's their guideline. And I don't want to lose focus on that. We're not asking social media companies to do anything different. We're not starting a surveillance program. We're not trying to impede upon the First Amendment rights. We're just saying if your community safety guidelines online are no violence, no nudity, no sexual explicit activity, and we're your partners in this, by simply saying, hey, we've done our research, this is a dangerous piece of information that's on your platform, please reach your own standard. what we've seen now is, and what has been shared with me, is that social media companies have gotten away from responding, have gotten away from, following through. And that's why the ordinance says, if you're going to keep it up, then give us a written response. Why? If you ignore us, you will have to be held accountable.
Yeah. What is the reaction that you're getting to this thus far?
Well, I will say this, I want to 9 others, with myself 50, that care about the children in the city of Chicago. I'd like to also thank my co-sponsor, Alderman Hopkins, who picked up the phone and called me, and he said, hey, I want to support you on this. This is something that can help. And so it's not the end-all be-all, but it's one amongst many layers of safety that we're putting in. Listen, if Australia moved in a direction of banning under 16, we're just simply saying protect our children from the images that are on your platforms with 1 million or more users that are not conducive according to your own guidelines.
Yeah. Would they need some type of evidence to, know that it's going to turn violent, or are they?
Well, Chicago is in good hands. I mean, prior to this work, I was privy to see some of the latest and the greatest tools that Cook County uses, Homeland Security uses, and Chicago Police. So there is a cyber policing department in all of our layers of government, and that's their job, is to monitor things online. And if it's a credible threat, they are literally proactive and sharing this information with social media companies, saying this particular person is a threat to the safety of people on the streets, and it's against your safety guidelines on the virtual highway. Listen, like, love, and indifferent, right now, we must be vigilant as much as we are on the streets. We must be vigilant on what's going on these phones and iPads.
Yeah.
Because the virtual highway is just as dangerous as 79th Street, 55th Street, or downtown on Lake Street.
Yeah. So you mentioned that Alderman Hopkins picked up the phone to call you and said, I want to go in on this. It's one piece of the collective protection that may be offered here, the collective solution that could be offered here. What are your thoughts on Alderman Hopkins' proposal for a new curfew?
Well, one thing I will say is that, I respect his commitment to making sure that no child is killed. I sat in that funeral, and I want to say this publicly, unapologetically. I sat next to the mayor of the city of Chicago 2 days ago at Leak & Son on 79th and Cottage Grove. I sat there on that front row next to a mayor who embraced a father, a mother, and sat there for 2 hours, and he did not touch his cell phone. That's how committed he was to showing compassion and empathy. And I understand why Alderman Hopkins does not want children dying. I respect it totally. I do think, however, there's some things that I can add to his ordinance the same way I expect him to add some suggestions to mine. I don't think that no child in the city of Chicago should be roaming the streets at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night without a parent. And mind you, we already have certain things that are already on the books around these things gatherings. And one of the things that, again, we must look at is the both and. If a child is out that late at night with no parental guidance, where then is the accountability of the system? And what I mean by that is, if this child is under the care of the state, why is a foster parent not being held accountable, right? If we have parents that are letting their kids roam before they are released, why aren't these parents being issued dates for therapy for their children to go? We've made major investments in the city of Chicago. 5 mental clinics. We got online some of the best care with Cook County, led by President Prewinkle. Now is the time to activate all of these investments, in which we've spent over $100 million in the last 2 years for the good of the young people. And again, I don't want any child, number one, dead. Number two, any child hurt. And number three, no child exposed to the images enticing this behavior. And so this is the reason why we need every safety guard on deck. When I was 14, 13 years old, oh man, that was over close to 30 years ago. And we didn't have these tools that transmit information at the speed of light. Yeah. And so what we're doing is we have to catch up to caring for our kids in a different way.
Absolutely. We talk about that in many different ways almost every day, that there are just different ways we have to look at things for these youth. You mentioned the young man who was killed after the Christmas tree lighting, Armani Floyd. To my knowledge, there's still not been an arrest in that case. Do you have any information about where that case stands?
Well, I don't have details to the degree in which, was shared publicly, but what I do know is that, sitting with that family, being in that funeral showed me one thing about that number one, he was a game changer. This young man literally had two schools full of kids, eighth graders, freshmen in high school present at his funeral. He was kind, he was compassionate, he was an athlete, he was an academic 3.7 GPA as a freshman. And that's a dream that we as a city, and when I say we, all of us some way, somehow, whenever we lose a child, it ought to be on us to not lose another. And so we've seen this time and time again. Now, though we've seen a change in violence, right? We've seen record number lows. We now must be proactive in cyber security to keep companies accountable. We're just asking for corporate responsibility in this ordinance. We're not asking for corporations to do anything different. And that's why when I said in that funeral on Tuesday, all I could think about is, what if we stop one of those accounts or the thousands of accounts that was saying, come downtown, liquor, come downtown, and be obnoxious? What if social media companies would have stepped in and just maintained their own standard of community responsibility and stopping the invitations from going viral? One can only imagine if this child would still be alive. And this is the reason why, again, the ordinance is to say, be responsible. Social media companies, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I just found out, especially with the direction that Australia is taking to protect their children, I found out that they have Tinder and Grindr. These are dating apps. These are apps for gateways for all types of mischief for kids now. And so these social media platforms have gotten out of control. And this is to protect every child from Lincoln Park to the back of the yards, from back of the yards to Roseland down to Edgewater. No parent, soccer mom or single mom, wants their child being exposed to things that are immoral or entice violence.
Yeah. And so what is your timeline here? What are we working on? You've introduced it. What happens from here?
Well, now it's in public safety, the committee that's chaired by Alderman Hopkins. So Chair Hopkins will call that and is added to his agenda. We'll make the case that we must, as a city, take the lead in holding these companies accountable. It's in the law department to further dot the I's and cross the T's, because I know that social media companies are going to come after me. I'm not ignorant of the fact that Chicago has the ability to change, and change makes people uncomfortable. And once again, we're dealing with corporate greed, because what we must understand about this whole social media paradigm is that social media companies are making money off of these accounts. So these accounts, these bad players, bad actors that are insinuating and going against safety guidelines are getting paid for monetizing their content. So social media companies are just as dangerous as the shooter is on the street. And so the legal department will make sure that we are safe. If there are any safety, or if there's any legal challenges from these companies, but we're going to fight full speed ahead. So in committee, we're going to make the case, and then it goes to the floor for a vote. And again, what I'm confident of is this: my colleagues are going to protect children. Again, this is not conservatives versus moderate. This is not Brandon Johnson versus those who can't stand Brandon Johnson, our mayor. This is everybody protect your child. Everybody protect our children. All hands on deck.
You mentioned Brandon Johnson versus those who can't stand Brandon Johnson. Never more does that come to a head than when you're in budget talks like you are right now.
Yeah,
where do things stand? Where do you stand with the budget proposal and those who are fighting back against it?
Well, again, we're going to see some theatrics. This is political theater. Some people across the aisle want us to come to work next week 5 days in a row. Do I believe that we need to be in chambers until we figure it out? Yes. But what I do believe is it doesn't take much time to figure out the fact that corporations have to pay. And one of the things that this corporate head tax does is invest in the safety of our children. And I'm just perplexed at the fact that we're defending millionaire and billionaires. And this is the same rhetoric that they used in 1997, that companies would leave. It's a job killer. Corporations just made $9 billion in 4 months in the city of Chicago in this fiscal year 2025. Chicago is not drying up. Chicago just became, again, for the third year in a row, I believe, if not more, my apologies, the #1 global tourist attraction in the world. We broke record numbers of hotel bookings. We saw a record number of crowds at Lollapalooza. That's just the outdoor festivals. Not forgetting the fact that our airport is #1. So people are coming and going in Chicago. Corporations are in Chicago for a reason. We're getting ready to see the grand opening of one of the largest tech companies in the world, if not the largest, Google, in which their employees will be working right across the street from City Hall. So I stand on the side of making sure that corporations, which got record tax breaks from this administration, do their job. This boils down to 0.0004%, not even a 0.5%. And the mayor has he's negotiated, raised the levy to 500 employees. So again, we've done everything to protect the small guys. We've done everything to protect the neighborhoods. And now what we're saying is essentially pay for what it costs to protect your workers as they go to and from work. Protect our young people by making sure that they have jobs. It is working. If the strategy put forth by the mayor wasn't conducive, if it wasn't any change in it, then I can understand why you wouldn't support the mayor. But this tax funds job creation for our kids, which was record breaking, and it worked. Numbers are down when it comes to violence. If this did not work pertaining to the community violence intervention workers, which intervene when violence and prevent violence, those things helped us to have record number lows this year. So why would we not invest in what's working? And the corporations that are making billions of dollars, again, $9 billion was made in 4 months in this city. Corporations ain't broke. We're just saying don't be stingy. And from 1997 up until the exclusion of it in 2024, companies didn't leave Chicago. Companies didn't back out. Matter of fact, more companies came.
Some people would argue that the companies are not in the same financial position even now that they were pre-pandemic, and that anything that kind of challenges whether they would stay or not, they're trying to protect. And especially when we've just had this whole conversation, still this is another ongoing conversation about that shifting tax burden from downtown to homeowners throughout the city as a result of downtown not maybe being what it should be.
Well, a few things with that. Number one, again, when corporations got a call from the White House to fund $300 million for East Wing, unnecessarily wing, I call it the unnecessary wing. So when the unnecessary wing for the unnecessary building project at the unnecessary leadership of the unnecessary president happened, no corporation stopped. Matter of fact, $300 million was raised at the blink of an eye. These same corporations that invest in the very leadership that is tearing apart the city of Chicago, there are some that are defending those types of corporations. Let's be clear about this. This same president ran through $574 million and essentially we only netted 4 people behind bars. And so the concern that I have is essentially that as a country, we're forgetting the little people. And so what I'm proposing is that they pay their portion in this tax to make sure that our streets are safe. And so corporations are not broke. $9 billion in 4 months. Again, we're just asking them not to be stingy.
Well, everyone benefits, of course, from safer streets for sure. So please keep us updated, one, on your ordinance regarding the social media corporations. And we're all hoping that you all figure out something on this budget before the end of the year.
Well, we got to December the 30th. Hopefully we'll get there. We will.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody. It's about 3:23. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. right, 3:25 right now. We were just talking with one of our local aldermen about some of the issues here in Chicago. We're going to go to a few other parts of the country to talk about some things that are happening in other parts for a few moments here. I want to start you off in California. If you were with us at the top of our 1 o'clock hour, we took you to Hayward, California, where there was a massive explosion. It had just happened. The firefighters were still on the building, trying to put out flames and hot spots that they were seeing there. The debris stretched for miles in that area, and I promised that if we got a little new information that we would come back to this scene. You can see here at the bottom of our picture here, you can see that there are microphones. That's right there at the bottom, kind of a little off center to the right, where there are microphones. We call that a rake. So there will be several media organizations that will be there for a press conference shortly. We're not sure exactly when that is set to begin, but we do know that we're anticipating a press conference there in Hayward, California. The new information that I have, the latest information I have, as you can see the firefighters there just kind of hovering about, waiting for this press conference to begin here, is that at least 6 people have been transported to the hospital after this explosion. It caused a large fire in this area. We do know that 8 engines and 2 trucks had to be called out to this scene. And there was a construction crew that damaged a gas line in this area. So at one point in time, when we were kind of checking back, we did see them kind of on poles and whatnot, kind of checking things out. So there was some construction going on. The crews damaged a gas line. We don't know if that actually is what caused the fire, what caused the explosion, but it's a plausible explanation if it was. We've even seen some footage from Ring doorbell cameras in the area that just showed, just a massive explosion that took place here. So 3 of the 6 victims that were taken to the hospital are in serious condition. 2 of the 6 people were workers in the street for the construction that was going on. So again, we don't know that that's what caused it, but it could be. And there were 2 workers who were there in that area for construction that were hurt in this. And again, of the 6 people, we do know that 3 of the 6, half of the people who were taken to the hospital, are in serious condition right now. So a really sad situation that's taken place there. And of course, for so many other people, this was a mixed use area. So it's partially commercial, partially residential, and that debris spread throughout. There was debris on people's cars, there was debris on people's homes. So anyone in that area probably felt a shake and also has some debris on their belongings after what took place there. 2 homes were significantly impacted, we're hearing, from the explosion and the fire. It does look like some of the officials are starting to head this way here. We know that another home has some damage on the side from the explosion as well. It does look like they're about to start this press conference. So let's just listen in for a second and see if they are ready to begin.
Need Alameda County Fire or Alameda County Sheriff to say the same thing over again, to give an update. Some people weren't here at the time. So. Okay. Can you? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. I'm Cheryl Hurd, Public Affairs Manager for the Alameda County Fire Department. With me, we have Tamar Sarkisian with PG&E. That's TAMARSARKISSIAM. IAN is in Nancy. Spokesperson for PG&E. We're going to start off with her because we haven't heard from her yet. Then we'll have Deputy Chief Ryan Nishimoto with the Alameda County Fire Department, and he will go over the nuts and bolts of the situation. And then, if you need him, Roberto Morales with the Alameda County Sheriff's Department Sergeant is also here, who can add a few words about traffic and things like that. So first off, we're going to start out with Tamar Sarkisian.
Hello, everybody. The safety of our customers, hometowns, and our crews is our most important responsibility. PG&E was notified at 7:25 a.m. PG&E was notified at 7:35 a.m. that a third party unaffiliated with PG&E struck an underground gas line on Llewellyn Boulevard in Hayward. PG&E immediately dispatched our crews to the scene. Once on site, they worked to isolate the damaged line and stop the flow of gas. The flow of gas was stopped at 9:25 a.m. Shortly after, at approximately 9:35 a.m., an explosion and structure fire occurred on Llewellyn Boulevard. Those on site, including PG&E crews, worked with first responders to make the area safe. PG&E will be conducting an extensive investigation around the potential cause and will support other investigations that may take place.
Who was the construction crew that was on the scene, and have they had any?
Okay, so the reporters are starting to ask some questions in, again, Hayward, California, after they had this massive explosion that took place. We were just hearing there from a representative of PG&E that was describing some of the things that have taken place there leading up to this. So we know that PG&E says they were notified that a third-party construction crew around 7:35 this morning called them. They had been digging in this area. They damaged an underground gas line right around 7:35 this morning as a part of a construction project that's been going on to widen sidewalks, create some bike lanes in this area. PG&E came out there. They released gas around 9:25 this morning into multiple locations, and about 10 minutes later, 9:35, the explosion happened. So again, 6 people have been taken to the hospital. 3 of them are in serious condition right now. 2 of the 6 people are workers who were there on the scene of that construction project. So wishing them the best and getting some more information about what led up to that explosion taking place this morning there in Alameda County. This is kind of like the Bay Area, right around San Francisco, Hayward, to be specific, but right around the Bay Area for California. We've also been watching a developing court case here. This is the pre-trial hearing, the first appearance for the man who is accused of killing Charlie Kirk. This is Tyler Robinson, a 20-year-old man who is from Utah in this area. You can see that he's sitting in the court. He, in another hearing early on in this, was allowed to wear plain clothes in court. Instead of having to come in a jumpsuit, he was allowed by the judge to wear plain clothes. So that was a bit of a win in his case for his attorneys, fighting for him not to look like an inmate coming into court each day. But this is the pretrial hearing and what will be a much-watched case here. Again, he's just 22 years old, accused of murdering Charlie Kirk, who was a personal friend of the president. And so a part of the hearing today has been for them to focus on a media coalition's request to be a part of the arguments, to have cams in. This is what we say, cams in for the courtroom in order to be able to tell people what's going on a little bit more clearly so that they can see, so that we can go in and go live so that people can see what's happening in the courtroom. But the defense would like to kick the cameras out. They are seeking to keep some of the evidence under seal. Again, it is a much-watched case with the death penalty as a possible option if Robinson is convicted. But this was a pretrial hearing here, his first in-person appearance in front of a judge since being arrested for allegedly killing Charlie Kirk back in September, this 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. We'll continue to watch what's happening with that case. But another situation that so many people watched, I've been saying devolve online yesterday, was the University of Michigan football coach. Hasn't even been the head football coach for that long. It was very emotional and dramatic when he finally got that moment to assume the head coaching position there at such a prestigious school. And yesterday he was fired with cause. allegedly for an affair that took place with a staffer. But as the day went on, so much got added to the entire story. I'm bringing in Karen Conti, an attorney with Conti and Dolan, who we always appreciate getting your analysis on different cases here. Thank you for your time, first and foremost.
Hi, Anita. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I wish that this entire case wasn't happening here, but let's start with being fired for cause for an affair. A lot of people have questioned, is that legally possible? Can somebody be fired for an affair?
Well, for most people who are employees at will, you can be fired for any reason, no reason, or a false reason. Now, this particular coach likely has a very solid contract, but that contract probably has provisions that say that he can't conduct himself in a way that impairs the team. And it could be that part of that contract says you cannot have extramarital affairs that come to light, and or you can't have affairs with people who work for you. And that's a very common thing among corporations, because you don't want the boss to be having an affair with somebody who they might have control over, because that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So the answer is yes, he could certainly be fired for having an affair.
So just hours after he's fired, again, with cause, and let's before we move on, with cause would then say that they don't have to, the university doesn't have to live up to the rest of his contract, correct?
That's correct.
And that was millions of dollars that they would have owed him had it not been with cause. So just hours later, he's then stopped and located and stopped in another area of Michigan. And there are charges on the table, or the possibility of charges on the table, with an arraignment expected today in another part of Michigan.
So I know a little bit about this because I have a friend who does criminal defense work for sports figures in Michigan. So I spoke with him, and we don't know the facts yet, but there's the scuttlebutt that we're hearing, and some of it's on TMZ. You never know what to believe until you see it. But what we think happened was, after he had this affair with the woman, his wife found out, he got fired from this extremely lucrative job, and he became despondent. And the allegations are that he took a knife and he went to the home of this woman and was threatening to kill her and threatening to kill himself. That's what we're hearing. Again, maybe not true, but the idea is that he was then arrested, and he has not been charged yet, which is a little unusual, but it could be, Anita, that he was arrested because he was threatening harm to himself and to others. So they wanted to incarcerate him to protect everybody involved. And yes, soon we're going to see what those charges might be.
Yeah, and he's still in custody at the Washtenaw County Jail, but it could possibly be protective custody, is what you're saying.
It could, and my understanding too from hearing the rumors is that he's under suicide watch. Again, if you go to somebody's house with a knife and threaten to kill them, that is a serious crime. And in Michigan, you can do 10 years for even doing that, for making that threat and going to a place with the instrumentality to do that. So, it could be that he's going to be charged with something very serious here.
Yeah. And so in watching this situation play out, there were so many questions as to workplace behavior. This was a coach who already had several suspensions as a result of things that took place with the football team itself. This was totally outside of what happens on the field. What were your overall impressions as to things that maybe people should learn from this case?
Well, we've seen a lot of these cases. We saw the Jumbotron kissing of the executive and the HR person. So, you can be fired for having an extramarital affair. And I will tell you, having represented companies, that you don't want people who work together to be having affairs. It causes disruption. It causes quid pro quo. It causes the idea other employees look and say, hey, she's getting favorable treatment because she's sleeping with the boss, and then they can bring lawsuits. So it's a legal nightmare to have people having affairs in the workplace, and you certainly could be fired for it. And some of the employment agreements and policy handbooks that you see in your workplace, which you should read, say specifically that you're not allowed to do that, especially when you are a superior having an affair with somebody underneath you.
Yeah. And so for the University of Michigan, they've already named an interim coach who will continue to take the team forward. I think they have another game like on the 30th of this month. I mean, this just kind of, it came out of the blue in terms of like a team that's moving forward. And then all of a sudden like, whoa, what's going on with this? So your friend has been contacted possibly to represent someone?
Yes, that's my understanding. So he does this kind of work. He suspected that he might get a call. He has friends in the community who circulate. So I believe he's going to go talk to Mr. Moore and see what the charges are going to be. If it's the arraignment today or first thing tomorrow, we'll know more about what those charges are. And again, committing suicide, threatening to commit suicide is not a crime in Michigan. But threatening to kill somebody else, harassing, stalking, threatening, all of those things can be serious crimes.
Yeah, that is what I was going to ask you on a final note. What kind of charges could he be faced with? I mean, it seemed like, again, there's a lot that's just floating around online, but like a breaking and entering, or you're saying like harassment. Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, we don't know all the facts here. It could be a breaking and entering. It could just be that he came to the house, knocked on the door. But if you listen to the 911 tape, which is on TMZ, if anyone's interested, you hear, it's hard to hear, but you hear that, someone is reporting that the guy has a knife and he's there. And if someone says, I'm going to kill you, and he comes all the way to your house and he is carrying a knife, that could be attempted murder. It could definitely be some sort of intimidation, harassment, assault, a number of different charges.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it also says? I mean, for employers, when you are, I know a lot of employers make sure someone is escorted when they're being fired. I mean, you really cannot estimate how someone is going to respond to their world, regardless of whether they're responsible for their world crumbling or not. You can't really estimate how someone is going to handle their world crumbling.
Well, there are people who are making billions of dollars these days who actually counsel employers, corporations about just that issue, because people who are terminated, that could be their sole livelihood. They could be supporting their families in addition to themselves. They could be emotionally connected to their job, and that could be their whole world and their ego. Most people, spend more time at their job than they do at home with their family. So this can be an extremely emotional situation, akin to a divorce. And so it's very important that there are protocols in place for employees to exit the building, giving up their keys, and making sure someone's not a threat to the remaining employees there.
Yeah, spending more time at your job than home may have been a part of the problem here. Thank you so much, Karen. We appreciate you always.
All right, Anita. Happy holidays to everyone.
Same to you. You take care. It's 3:43, everyone. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with another check at Lurie Children's for their Radiothon. 3:46, everyone. Let's end on a heartwarming note, shall we? We want to go back to Lurie Children's, the radiothon that's been going on all day, and we're checking back in with our own Casey Cronis. Hey, Casey.
Hi, Anita. It has been such a fun day here. We had Jake and Gabriella here this morning. Rob and I took over here for the afternoon, and it has been a blast. This is one of the hospital's biggest fundraisers, the Lurie Children's Hospital Radiothon, hosted by iHeartMedia. And if you hear the bells ringing and the applause, that is because someone else has made a donation. We do want to shout out some Fox 32 viewers who have called in and donated throughout the day. That includes Mark, that includes Robert, John from Park Ridge, Leonard from Midlothian, Lucia from Bensonville, Mary from Gurnee, Naomi from Chicago, Nicole from Lombard, and Susan from Palatine. We are so appreciative of all of the Fox 32 viewers who have been tuning in and taking part in this wonderful effort. All of the funds donated during the Radiothon go right back to patients and families here at Lurie's, and you can hear the applause. We got another donation here. Now, the Radiothon, Anita, goes until 7 o'clock tonight, but people at home can donate all weekend long. I do want to read off the number if you are listening. The phone number to call and make a donation is 1-888-831-7733. Again, that's 1-888-831-7733. Or you can simply send a text Lurie, that's L-U-R-I-E, to 34984. Again, text Lurie to 34984. But it's been such a heartwarming day, Anita, hearing from former patients, hearing from families, and coming up in our 4 and 5 o'clock hours, we will also chat with some donors who are making all of this possible.
I love it. I love all of this. And tell us a little bit about the people that you have caught up with thus far and the difference that Lurie has made for them.
Well, first off, we started the day by talking to a child life specialist, and her pup, Hawk, joined us. And what a great guest that was, a golden retriever who works here at the hospital 5 days a week and brings comfort to patients who are either getting ready to go into surgery, or they've just come out of surgery, or they've received a life-changing diagnosis. And his owner was telling me that working here, bringing him around to the hospital rooms, it lights up the faces of these patients who, some of them, are going through their hardest days. So it was wonderful hearing from that side of it. And then we talked to Viviana Gonzalez just an hour ago with you. She was our Fox 32 reporter for a day in June, and we got another donation. And she was battling leukemia for 2.5 years. And this summer, she rang the bell. She finished her treatment. She got her port removed this summer as well. Oh, and this is really good. The phones keep ringing. We want to see this. We want more bells and more applause here. But just hearing from her, and what a poised, well-spoken little lady for just 10 years old, to think what she has gone through over the last couple of years. And it's donations during events like the Radiothon that make it possible for her to receive treatment here. And, you know, she said she's excited to see the nurses and the doctors again. She saw Hawk, the pup, when she was here for her treatment, and was excited to see him again today. So there's just this lasting connection here. Patients who come, they aren't finished when they are discharged. A lot of them are back here today as former patients, giving back themselves.
And we love to see how, you know, that cyclical process, because when you know for yourself what it has meant to you, to turn back around and help somebody else go through what you remember so well. You're on what we've been calling Radio Row all day. Tell us, give us a shout out of some of the radio stations you can see around you.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll step out of the way here so you can get a look at the whole room. We've got Kiss FM here. We've got Inspiration Radio. We've got Rock 95.5. Just a ton of iHeart stations here helping to make this all possible. And then if we want to also, maybe Rob can take a closer look at the volunteers who are sitting back there, and they are the ones who are not only answering phone calls coming in, but they are making outgoing phone calls. I was just up there for about 20 minutes before I hopped on here with you, Anita, making some outgoing calls, asking for donations from people who have donated in the past. So the volunteers are hard at work here, but if you want to make it a little bit easier for them, you can pick up the phone yourself and call in 1-888-831-7733, or again, text Lurie, Lurie, to 34984. And another bell. We love it. We love to hear it, Anita.
We want them to keep going. Yeah. And tell us one more time what the goal is for today.
Okay, so last year the Radiothon raised over $1 million. So we need to surpass that goal, right? Now, we won't know the total until later today. This ends at 7 o'clock officially today. That is when the big total from today will be announced, but you can still make donations through the weekend, through Sunday, and they will count toward that total. But we are aiming for at least $1 million because that's what they raised last year, and we want to beat that.
I believe we can do it. Casey, thank you so much. We'll see you at 4.
Thank you, Anita. Great to chat with you.
Absolutely. Everybody, it's 3:52. One of the things about the Radiothon, it's hard work for everyone who's in there, the volunteers, for the radio stations, for the TV station. It's a lot of hard work, but you couldn't do work for a better cause. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing that everyone has joined forces together to be able to do, and for such a wonderful cause here. I want to just let you know, so Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital received a major donation this week, and these are some of the things that the money is going toward. So they're establishing the largest pediatric genetics training program in Illinois. Again, when we join forces and we raise funds, these are the types of things that they're going to be able to do. They're bringing diagnostic testing in-house to reduce wait times from more than 3 months to fewer than 2 weeks. That is so significant. If you think about how many families end up having to spend months at the hospital and then go back time after time, and especially if you have other children, the toll that takes on your whole family. I mean, in our 2 o'clock hour, we were talking with Viviana. You heard Casey speak about her story there. We were watching Viviana over the summer and the spring into the summer before she rang that bell. It was a beautiful moment to see her ring that bell. But just think about the adult journey that she had to go through to ring that bell. She says that she wants to be a teacher in the future. And what a story she will have to teach. A story of overcoming, a story of surviving as a result of the work there at Lurie Children's, what they were able to provide for her and her family, of hope, of healing, of survival there. The money from the donation this week will also triple the number of gene therapy and clinical research trials, reaching nearly 75 active trials by 2030. This is future work that we're talking about here. We're talking about things that we're doing today together as a united front that will help people for years, for generations to come. So we know that we can raise that $1 million that they're looking for today or more. We're hoping to surpass it, of course. You want to surpass the fundraising mark each and every year. And again, I want to reiterate how you can be a part of it. You can call 1-888-831-7733. The number is right there on your screen. There's also a dedicated website that you can go to. It's Lurie, Lurie, Children's, ChildRENS. That's all one word, LurieChildrens.org/radiothon. Or you can text Lurie, Lurie, to the number 34984. Again, text Lurie to 34984. 984. You still have plenty of time to get in there and make your mark, help change lives, help save lives. Again, this is going to be going on until about 7 o'clock this evening. Casey Cronus is going to be right there, and they'll be checking back in with her in the 4 and the 5 o'clock hours. We're going to take one more quick break. We're going to come back here and close things out. All right, everyone, that's it for us here on Chicago Live today. We thank you so much, as always, for being here with us. We're right back here every weekday from 1 to 4 p.m. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 1.
Thank you.